When you scroll through the internet, you see this chaotic, almost nonsensical world of memes. But what if I told you it is anything but random? In fact, it's a ruthlessly efficient, engineered ecosystem.
It's an ecosystem that has its own very specific language, a syntax that literally evolves faster than you or I could ever hope to learn it. It has a vocabulary that feels, well, completely alien by design.
This is a dialect that builds a fortress between generations.
All of that confusion, the incredible speed, the sheer absurdity of it all, it's so easy to just write it off as meaningless noise. But what if it's actually a signal? What if the chaos is the entire point?
And that brings us to the core idea we're going to unpack here. We have to start seeing memes as the output of a machine. They aren't just spontaneous jokes anymore. They are data packets meticulously optimized to survive in an incredibly hostile digital world. And that efficiency, it's not just a gut feeling. It's been measured. The power this system has to persuade you is, statistically, in a whole different league from traditional models. We'll dig into the exact numbers later, but the main takeaway is this. This isn't just about culture anymore. This is about power. So to really understand what's happening, we have to fundamentally shift how we think. We need to stop seeing memes as just jokes and start seeing them for what they've truly become, the new operating system for how we process information and maybe even reality itself. A centrifuge is actually a perfect metaphor. It spins so incredibly fast that it separates the dense stuff from the light stuff. Well, in our world, this ecosystem separates raw information from all the nuance, from the context that gives it meaning. And what's left behind? These tiny, dense particles of pure signal. Those are the memes that make it out alive. Now, this ecosystem, it basically has its own laws of physics, and it's all governed by two fundamental forces: the algorithms that dictate what we see, and, maybe more importantly, the biological limits of our own brains. Okay, so the first force at play was this huge structural change in how information even moves. We used to live in a social graph where your friends were the gatekeepers. Now we live in an interest graph, and in this new world, a meme from some account with 0 followers can hit millions of screens in a few hours, just as long as it triggers the right engagement signals for the algorithm. Virality was basically democratized, but it was also radicalized. 47 seconds. In 2024, that number represents the average amount of time a person gives to a single screen before moving on. That's the cognitive bottleneck we're all dealing with. Think about that. It's down from 2.5 minutes just 20 years ago. This isn't some kind of moral failing on our part. It's a physiological reality. Our feeds bombard us, and our brains have no choice but to adapt by filtering everything aggressively. So memes aren't just designed to be funny anymore. They are engineered to slip right past that 47-second filter. They're cognitive shortcuts. So the physics of the feed are constantly selecting for these super rapid, super compressible ideas. But what's fueling the machine? Well, that's the economics. Because in this system, attention isn't just a resource, it's the only currency that matters. And here's that data I teased earlier. On average, marketing campaigns that use memes get a click-through rate of 19%. Compare that to just 6% for a standard digital ad. That is a 316% jump in efficiency. And why? It's simple. Memes act as informational camouflage. They don't register as ads, so they just waltz right past our psychological defenses. And the platforms themselves are directly engineering the shape of culture through how they pay people. Just like a TikTok, their old creator fund paid out pennies, which rewarded creators for making super short, spammy videos. The new model, it pays drastically more, but only for videos over 1 minute long. Almost overnight, that one economic change forced a massive cultural shift away from 15-second dances and towards 60-second stories. The machine changed the specs, and the creators had no choice but to follow. So when you create a system that is this efficient at persuasion, it was only a matter of time before it would be used for more than just selling sneakers. It becomes a tool for ideology. And this is where the joke becomes a weapon, and irony becomes its perfect shield. I mean, there is no better case study for this than Pepe the Frog, a cartoon character that started as a simple symbol for feels good man, was mutated into a designated hate symbol, and then somehow mutated again into a symbol of democratic resistance. This timeline proves that in the memetic ecosystem, any symbol can be completely stripped of its original meaning and weaponized by anyone with enough will to do it. The actual mechanism for this weaponization is something researchers call irony poisoning. It's this gradual process. See, it starts with edgy humor, jokes that push the boundaries. Then, extremist ideas get introduced, but they're masked as just jokes or satire. But the repeated exposure starts to desensitize you. Your brain slowly stops being able to tell the difference between the ironic performance and a sincere belief. The humor basically acts as a Trojan horse, completely bypassing the immune system of your critical thought. The physics, the economics, the weaponization, all of it, every part of this system converges on one single terminal outcome: the total breakdown of shared meaning itself. You know the old saying, the map is not the territory? But in this ecosystem, the map, the meme, the representation of an idea, is put through such a relentless cycle of copying and remixing that eventually you can't even find the territory anymore. Each new version adds more and more layers of noise, of distortion, of irony. This visual decay you're seeing is what people online call deep frying, and it's a perfect metaphor for this process of semantic entropy. The map has become the territory. The original signal is just decaying into noise. And this is the final state. The territory is gone. The signal is the noise. At this point, communication isn't about transmitting a coherent idea. It's about signaling you're in the in-group, or just triggering a jolt of high-arousal static. Meaning has completely collapsed into pure sensation. So all the chaos we see online, the brain rot, the political division, the total collapse of nuance, that is not a bug. It is the logical, predictable output of an ecosystem that was engineered for velocity over veracity. The chaos is the feature. The machine is doing precisely what it was built to do.